Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Our guest today, Stephanie Stuckey. Stephanie, I really appreciate you being here. And can you tell us, first of all, where you're calling in from and what you do for a living with Stuckey's Corporation?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm drinking bottled water because we just had a major water outage
Oh, my God.
in the city. So we have boil water advisories all over the place. And I am chair of Stuckey's Corporation, which is a company my grandfather founded, and we make pecan snacks and candies.
It's amazing. I love that. I know we chatted a little bit before we started the recording today, but what was kind of your journey to, leading up to taking over the business or being more involved with the business with your family? Obviously, it's been around a long time. Could you take a little bit through that, like, the steps leading up to you getting really involved and, becoming ultimately the CEO of this brand?
I'd be happy to. And I am the chair now. I have a business partner, and recently we transitioned to him being the CEO.
Gotcha.
His name's RG Lamar, and I'm the chair.
Awesome.
And we jointly run the company and have different duties, but I'm mostly responsible for the branding and the outward facing duties of publicity and speeches and trade shows. So that's mostly my job. And then he does the day-to-day internal management of our candy plant, which is outside of Augusta, Georgia. So the journey is really interesting. I like to call ourselves an 85-year-old startup. We are definitely in entrepreneurial mode. My grandfather started this company as a roadside pecan stand in 1937, and he grew it humble origins to, by the 70s, there were 368 Stuckey stores nationwide. So retail convenience store chain, and we sold pecan snacks and candies and kitschy souvenirs and had gas and a quick serve restaurant. I like to say before there was Racetrack or Wawa or Thornton's or Buc-ee's, there was Stuckey's. We were the first roadside retail chain that dates all the way back to the Great Depression. But he sold the company. It was out of our family for decades and sadly declined. And 4 years ago, I had the unexpected opportunity to buy the company. It was in distress at that point, and there are only a dozen original Stuckey stores still standing. The company doesn't own or operate any of them. It's a licensing deal. And all of the assets that my grandfather owned were gone except for the trademark. So it pretty much was a startup. It was just a re-startup because it's a brand that had been around and there is brand recognition, definitely with a certain age demographic. So it's been a labor of love and a real journey to bring this brand back. And so we're remaking the brand as a consumer packaged good, and we bought a manufacturing facility 3 years ago. And so that's what we do now, just like my grandfather, and we're selling these to thousands of retailers nationwide now.
It's amazing. So, you can basically treat it as at the time you came in. Obviously, from what you're saying, you're kind of just taking the CPG angle of like the branded snacks that came from the original stores. We're not really looking to revive the retail stores again. We're really just going forward with this CPG side with just the snacks.
Well, I would never say never. We are definitely open to the possibility. And there is a strong emotional tie to the stores. And a lot of people identify with our brand as a roadside retail brand. But our focus as we revive the brand, you have to really pick a lane, has been as a CPG brand. So that is how we're currently driving the growth and the revenues of this company. But we're still talking about the brand's roots as a road tripping brand as we introduce it to a whole new generation of consumers. And I think that's something that people of all ages can connect to. And it's something that has a historical legacy with our company, but can be relevant to people in their 20s and 30s who may not have grown up stopping at Stuckey's. They still know what it's like to take a road trip and what's a road trip without snacks. So
yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see the packaging. I'm sorry. When I talk, it keeps my screen up. Hold on. I'll stop talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's so vintage, and that's what I was just gonna say about the packaging is even somebody who maybe is too young to remember like when there was a lot of Stuckey's like actual retail stores. I think that like kind of connection to the vintage and to like things like even before their time and like the kind of Gen Z millennial age is something that really appeals to people. So I could definitely see that. And what was your kind of, I suppose, like go to market strategy when you took this business back over? Were you looking to do like kind of direct to consumer online selling with this product, or were you looking to get back involved with maybe other retailers even though they weren't your own Stuckey's retailers anymore? What was your kind of kind of general strategy at that point? And has that kind of stuck to today, or is anything's changed? Be curious to know as well.
Yeah, so we are focused on mass distribution to really drive the sales and get that volume where we need it. And to do that, you have to look at getting into chains. So we hired a retail sales director who has a lot of experience with food distribution. And I know there's quite a few CPG folks who listen, so they'll be familiar with the distribution landscape. So Arlene Paquette is her name, and she came from Core-Mark, and she's really been amazing in getting us set up in Core-Mark and McLean, HT Hackney, Vistar, a lot of the distributors that folks will recognize. And in turn, that gets us into convenience store chains and grocery channels. But we also sell online. We have a Stuckey's website, and we sell to specialty retail stores. So we have a lot of mom and pop brands from all over the country. You can just reach out to us and we'll sell direct to you if you're a one-off store. But if you're a chain, we're looking to go through the distribution channels and really drive sales that way. And it's working. It's a slow and steady journey to get a brand pivoted to a different direction and then get in those distribution networks. So we're in the process of getting WeBank certification as a women-owned company.
Awesome. Yeah.
And that will help us with some of those distributors and large retailers. A lot of the large retailers like Target and Walmart have DEI standards, I guess, mandates and or a commitment to making sure they're more inclusive in their procurement. So we're really going to start going aggressively after some of those accounts once we get the certification.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I appreciate you sharing that. Just your experience with like, just how long it can take to get a CPG brand like really out there and like circulating and like, get some trust with different people that are in those kind of channels. Because having so many people in CPG kind of on the podcast, it's obviously one of the most difficult things, just like getting your initial kind of foot in the door in those relationships and getting a good deal in those relationships. Even something that has been as long-standing as something like the Stuckey's brand for so long. It's even just to hear that it's still like, yes, it still does take that organic growth and time to get something out there is, I think something that's just a lot of people grapple with and what I hear from a lot of folks. So, but at the end of the day, I think it's just something you just need to know if you're getting into a CPG vendor for the first time, it's just something to know, to expect that like it's going to take probably a lot longer than you think. It's like, it's not a SaaS company where you could fulfill a million people's requests in overnight with a snap of a finger. So no, it's fascinating. I appreciate you sharing your experience in that. Yeah.
We manufacture in-house. So once we land
even more to that point,
the account, I mean, there's a lot of coordination that has to go on with our production team to make sure we're not pitching sales that they don't have the capacity to fulfill, and managing inventory to make sure that we're keeping the right amount of inventory in stock at all times, not too much, not too little, keeping the cash flow, being aware of code dates and how long we can keep our product on the shelves. All of that matters. And the biggest challenge is for me, because I do more of the outward facing, we've got this amazing team that lands us on the shelves. But once you get on the shelves, you have to get off the shelves. And consumers are finicky. They will gravitate off into what they know, and they might grab a Planters peanut or a Blue Diamond almond and not think about pecans, which, by the way, pecans are the only snack nut native to our country. They're absolutely delicious.
Really? I did not know that. That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yes. And more pecans are grown in the state of Georgia, where we're based, than anywhere else in the entire world. And we source we source from a sheller, but we source all of our pecans locally. And so it's a really great story. All of our ingredients are domestic. It's interesting. I'm learning this. There's no American made certification. So companies
isn't that something?
We're American made, but there's no certification for it.
Yeah, I know like the EU has like the certified declaration of origin for all their country, like for all like the EU countries' products and stuff. That is very fascinating that there really isn't something legitimate like that for American products. It is.
There is a Georgia grown certification. And I think there's a lot of states, I know, like Alabama, because we do business in Alabama. There's, different states will go through their state Department of Agriculture to say that they've got certifications being an Alabama grown or a Georgia grown. So we are Georgia grown certified, which means at least 80% of our ingredients are sourced from the state of Georgia. And
Yeah,
that means, I mean, our packaging is not from Georgia, but our packaging is domestic.
yeah,
So
no, I mean, it's great. I think it definitely matters, to folks. I think, I mean, something like that resonates to people. But you're right. I mean, it's so crazy. I've never really thought about that until right now. I mean, I just noticed the other day that with like the EU Declaration of Origin, and I was like, I didn't even consider it as like there's nothing like that for America. It's just like, oh wow, that's cool. At least I know that it's like, where I'm getting it from is actually what it is. It was like a Italian extra virgin olive oil I was buying online or something I was looking for, and it had this like Declaration of Origin from the specific region in Italy that it was from, and for some reason, it just didn't even pass my mind that like there is not anything like that for the US. I don't know. Maybe there is in international markets, like only things that maybe we export, just not in like domestically here. I don't know, but that's really fascinating. Like what
yes,
other, yeah.
I do that. We have exported some in the past. We're not currently exporting because of tariffs. And also we have a temperature sensitive product.
Right.
And so we have to be mindful of the shipping costs. So anyway, a lot of reasons why we are not currently exporting, but we have exported in the past. And I do believe my recollection, my business partner handled a lot of it, but I was copied on those emails, is that there is a declaration of origin when you're exporting, but that's not the same as saying made in the USA or American made. And you can say it, you can slap that on your product, but right now there's no government regulation. I'm not necessarily suggesting more regulation going through this WeBank certification. It is such a bear to get through the process, but you do need to have some sort of check, or just anyone would say, yeah, we're female owned. And
right. No, exactly.
It's not,
exactly.
It's somebody's, I don't know, their female cat owns the company or something.
Right.
It can be fraught with abuse if you're not regulating it. So it's a balancing act. I would be really interested if there are any listeners who have opinions on this, if they know anything about American Made, or if they've gone through the WeBank, and that's Women Enterprise National Business Council. I think I got that right. Women Enterprise Business National Council. Everyone calls it WeBank. If anyone's gone through the process or thinking about going through the process, reach out to me.
I've definitely had a few ladies on the podcast that I know I've gone through that because they've talked about it. So I'll have to go back through, and if I come across anybody as I listen to the recordings and do the editing and stuff that I heard from it, I'll definitely connect them with you. People in the CPG space are the best. Like everybody is so willing to like help and come on and share their experiences and share their knowledge. So I'm sure anybody who has mentioned that to me will be more than happy to help. So I'll definitely have them reach out to you. And I guess I'm curious, of course, I guess I'm curious as well. I'm always really interested in kind of hearing about like these conversations once you like start working with retail partners, right? Obviously, like shelf placement, like things you can do as far as like demoings and things like that is like there can be a big lever, or they can kind of like be your Achilles heel if you don't do those things well or don't have an opportunity to do them. So how do you make sure that your product is in a place and is set up for success in any retail locations with the partners that you currently work with?
Well, like I said, we're an 87-year-old startup, and we don't have this huge marketing budget. It's a tiny little internal team. We don't have external consultants that we pay. So we just do word of mouth marketing, and I do a lot of posts on LinkedIn. I have 121,000 followers, and I talk about our retail partners. I have a lot of followers, not as many. LinkedIn's my jam, but I do have a good number of followers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, I'm on it. And I post about all of our retail partners. I'll post from the Candler Park Market or Lucy's Market, that's just a one-off specialty store, or I'll pull over at Hobby Lobby, that's a national chain, or Books A Million, that's now selling our pecan log rolls. And I wrote a book recently about the Stuckey's journey, and they carry the book and the log rolls, which is kind of a nice
That's very cool,
promo. Yeah. And I saw one Books A Million recently where they had the two side by side at the register, which was amazing. And I just lucked out that they did that. But it's constant just trying to spread the word about where our product is, and posting and telling people. We do some tastings. We do some in-store tastings. Always open to that. I also do a lot of speaking gigs. And a big part of what I do is part of my speaking fee, in air quotes, is that the host organization purchases Stuckey's products for all attendees. So you'll hear our story, but it's not done in a salesy way, because I'm being asked to speak to a conference. It's often a trade show. So for example, I recently spoke to a flooring conference, so manufacturers of floor tile. I speak to a lot of manufacturing groups. So I'm very mindful. I talk about very broad lessons learned from reviving a nostalgic brand, and a lot of companies, especially in the manufacturing, the family business space, can relate to our story. So I'll share that, and we'll share our product. And so hopefully they'll go out and buy our product at Mapco or Murphy USA or Wawa in Florida or any of the other stores that carry our product. And when they see it, they'll remember the story, and that will prompt them to get it off the shelf.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I obviously love that. So it's kind of like you're doing things in your own professional capacity with your own expertise, and just kind of in the background saying like, yeah, you got to buy some Stuckey's though.
Yeah, it's all about
I love that. Yeah.
storytelling. It's
Mhm.
all because you can't just be like, buy our product, buy our product, buy our product.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? Nobody wants to be hammered over the head or
No,
sold
people are
to.
so like advertising and like sales averse
Yeah.
these days, especially the younger generation. No, it makes perfect sense for sure.
I mean, they're justifiably skeptical of that. People want authenticity, which I know is a word that is bantered about a lot. So maybe it's honesty or realness, but just telling your story in a way that people can relate to. I think that's what matters, and making the story interesting, which is why I talk a lot about the road trip. And people are like, oh, road trips are really fun. Like I did a post last week. The post I did last week that got the most engagement, it got almost 250,000 engagements on LinkedIn, was about visiting film locations for my cousin Vinny in Georgia. And people love that. And they left in the comments their own favorite scenes from the movie. And one of I had like 4 photos, and the photos were all film locations. And I shamelessly included my 18-year-old daughter so I can kind of get a younger demographic, and she's a good sport. And then I had, by the way, while we were going to all these film locations, we pulled over at Friendly Gus's in Dublin, Georgia, and picked up a bag of Stuckey's pecans.
No, it's amazing. I think that you're right. I think you're right. It's like that's what people really resonate with is just common experiences. That's what I try to bring through this podcast, talking to so many different types of entrepreneurs. I think that's what people like. And it definitely makes sense because I know myself, like, thinking about what I see on my Instagram feed, like every time there's an ad, I'm like, ugh. I make a face every time there's like an ad that somebody's like, when it's like just very salesy, I literally like sometimes I'll even like close the entire app sometimes. Like,
just scroll.
Yeah. Just keep going. Yes. Like,
I
stop.
do that
please.
with sponsored content too.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Same thing. It's all the same in my mind. Sponsored advertising, whatever it is. It's all the same in my mind. But yeah, no, it is. It's really fascinating how like averse people are to like that kind of straight up advertising. And what you're doing is like it's community building.
Yeah.
And like I think that's what people at the end of the day really want is just like find like-minded people, whether it's through a snack, whether it's through whatever it might be. So I think it's a really interesting and valuable perspective. I appreciate you sharing that as well. And Stephanie, I know I said before we started that there's one question I always love to ask everybody that comes on the podcast. Which is basically just, in your case, I wasn't sure if this was going to fit that well for your business because I just realized how old it was. But with the kind of rebirth that you've given it, I think it still actually makes a lot of sense. So basically, I guess I'd just be curious, when you took over for the brand, if you could go back and give yourself any piece of advice as you kind of took this brand on a new kind of CPG journey, what do you think that piece of advice would be, everything you've learned up to this point?
Oh, easy. Start raising money now before you need it. I gave myself a year runway. Ended up, I had a 2-year runway. So that second year was a little tough as far as me not taking a salary and really bootstrapping everything. But you need capital to grow a business. Start raising it before you really think you need it. And also, once you really need it, it's usually in a position where your financials aren't as strong as when they are when you don't need money. So basically, be raising money. And I'm not talking about selling out for a bunch of equity, but figuring out ways that you're going to bring in capital to grow the company. Constantly be thinking about how are we going to grow? How are we accessing the financing to grow? And there are all sorts of ways you can do that without having to sell out equity, different financing vehicles. We did new market tax credits recently, and that's about a 6-month process. So I wish I'd started looking into new market tax credits like right away. Or we applied recently for a grant through the USDA. It was a resilient infrastructure grant, and we applied for some equipment. So they were looking at mid-level food producers. So just constantly be looking for opportunities to raise capital that can be invested in growth for the company.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good advice. And you're probably not surprised to hear that, things around funding are some of the most common answers that I get to that question, especially as very new brands. But I think that perspective is really important, which is essentially like if you're seeking funding when you really are in dire need of it, you're probably not in a position where anybody's going to want to give it to you. But if you do it proactively when you are in a position and have some projections, even when it's maybe earlier on before you have as much of a proof of concept, I think that might still be a better position than to say, well, we've lost this much money over the last year. This is why we need funding. Like people are going to be like,
Right.
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think even like, preliminary projections can be a little bit stronger in those conversations than, a track record of, losses, even over a short period of time. So I think it's a very, very valuable way to think about, like obviously it's important to seek funding, but like that why I think it is really resonated with me. So I'm sure, other folks that listen again in like the CPG space, a lot of our listeners are. I think it's really good advice. So I appreciate you sharing that. I guess, Stephanie, I just want to give you an opportunity as well for anybody listening that might be interested in, getting in touch with you for any kind of potential business partnership or, just want to see where they can try the product if they're in the area. So what's the best way to stay in touch with you and find out more about the brand?
Well, I think the easiest way, and most people on this call, listening are probably in the B2B space. And so just hit me up on LinkedIn and I will check my LinkedIn messages or comment on my post and say you want me to respond. I check comments, but you can message me on any of the social media platforms. On Twitter and Instagram, it's at StuckeyStop, all one word. And then Facebook, it's a professional profile page. I do not post anything on my personal Facebook page and have not in a while. So the professional page, and then LinkedIn, Facebook, and then also www.stuckeys.com has a contact us form that you can fill out. And if you say, please get this message to Stephanie, I will get it.
Awesome.
I get a message like several times a week. I get messages just from the generic contact form that say, please deliver to Stephanie, and it comes straight to me.
Great. Well, it's great that you pay attention to that because it's a great vehicle for people to kind of maybe just like stumble across you that may be interested in like the moment, but may forget if they can't find your LinkedIn or Facebook or something. So that's great. It's good for people to know, I think. And well, Stephanie, I just want to say thank you again for being here. I really appreciate your insights and expertise and what you're doing. And I would just want to wish you the best of luck and continued success. I love the story of this brand. It's really amazing. And by the way, if there's anywhere in New York State that I can get this, please let me know. I would love to try it. I don't know if there's a store locator on your site or if you do operate that far north.
We're working on it. The problem is it's a product store locator. So we're working on getting the plug-in. Our IT people are working on the plug-in, but then you also have to download all the data. And the challenge is because we go through distributors, we have to get all that data, which stores they're distributing to from the distributors. And then we have to be cognizant of, is it always in stock? We hate to tell people, pull over here and it may not be in stock. So it's a challenge when you're a CPG as opposed to you just own and operate stores. You can easily do a store locator for those. But nationwide, we are in At Home, Hobby Lobby. MAPCO does not go as far as New York, but
I have an At Home and a Hobby Lobby pretty near to me, I think. So if that's probably the best as far as national goes, I'll certainly make my way over there because I really want to try it. I promise to give you my most honest feedback. I'm sure I'll love it though. I love pecans.
Or STUCKEY'S.com. And we're talking
it's easy enough
someone, we're talking with someone about getting on Amazon. We were on Amazon and Amazon's a challenge.
It's a constantly changing beast of a platform to operate. So
but we'll probably get back on Amazon in the near future. So stay tuned on that one.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I really look forward to staying in touch with you, Stephanie. Just want to say thank you again for being here. And I can't wait to try it. I'll definitely be in touch with my feedback whenever I can get my hands on it here soon.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Matt. It was
Thank
my
you, Stephanie.
pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.